We got 3 over here. For those of y'all who don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to wait, see the YouTube video, go back over week 1 again, and refresh your memory about who in the Bible was a criminal and how it is that we are to be criminals. We are not to be beholden to the laws of the Old Testament. We're not to be beholden to the laws of this world. And so, being rebellious, going against the norm, breaking out of the mold you have been in. Many of us were raised in our grandparents' church and we learned things a certain way. And what Grace Point and many other churches across this nation are trying to teach us is that it's free. Grace is free. The blessings are there for us. It is up to us to receive it. We get in the way of receiving those things, and that's how this class has come about, is conversations with Mike about thinking and how we think. He began to really help me connect those to our spiritual walk and how we think interferes with our ability to connect spiritually. And just the handouts you got on the way in, in addition to the previous packet, this one is, somebody had asked for the what if worksheet that was not in the handout that we originally gave you guys, and so I sent this in with the intention of them printing out a whole bunch of the worksheets, but they got really excited and printed out the entire packet that goes with it from the office, so you get that as a free bonus surprise. And then this is just an additional handout about negative thinking. We'll talk about it later towards the end. So as I was thinking this week, the class is Crash Course in Life Transformation, and that got me to thinking about my life and the information that's been flying out on Facebook this last couple of weeks prompted a couple of Navy buddies to get a hold of me that I haven't spoken to in 20 years, and they were reminding me of the good old days. And there are a lot of funny stories that flew around involving Tom and Chris and Fuji and TJ, and I still remember these guys, just their faces is just like yesterday. And those 2.5 years we all spent together on a ship really bonded us. But as I thought about it, I'm not that same person that I was back then, and I have transformed into who I am today. And that's really important for you guys to kind of think about, who you are today, because what is the one question that this class keeps bringing you back to? There's one overarching, all-important question that every second of every day should begin with. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Who are you is going to help you answer that question, because you are a father, you are a mother, you are a sister, you're a child of somebody, you're a daughter, you're a son, you're a parent, you're a friend, you're an employee at a certain place, you're a husband, you're a wife. And so when I say, hey, what do you want? You're like, hey, I know what I want. Woo! But I'm a dad too, so yeah, I want to be a good example for my son, and I'm a husband, and I want to uplift my wife and for her to feel good. And so it starts to become a much more complicated question than it sounds at first. It's not a selfish question. It's a question specifically designed to turn you back inward, to look at yourself, to look at who you are in order to be able to answer that question. I had a student from the class show up in my office with some pretty intense issues, and they told me when they came in, really stressed out, frustrated, panicky. He laid out this whole scenario, and he said he had been to another therapist, but he thought it was above their pay grade. So I'm like, oh. And I mean, this involved family, it involved companies, it involved business, it involved large amounts of money, it involved very serious decisions to be made, and to be made in a timely fashion. And when they got done giving me the 20-year history inside of 15 minutes, they looked at me and said, what should I do? Like, well, let's go back to the class for a second. And they're like, oh, yeah. I said, no, but in all seriousness, take all that stuff for a second and just kind of suspend thought about it. Now, and you can do this sitting there. Take a breath here. We talked about the autonomic nervous system last week and how when anxiety and panic kicks in, our muscles start to tense, our adrenaline starts to flow, our heart starts speeding up. We can reverse that process by taking control of the one element of it that we do have control over, and that is our breathing. And so take a breath here in your belly, hold it, let it go. And as you feel yourself relax a little bit, think about that circumstance, think about those situations. And I said, what is it you would like? And if, I got that angry look at first, like, and then they stopped and they did it and they thought about it. And then you just see the stress melt off their face. And they said, I want harmony. And in the instant they said that, harmony came over them. They were at peace. Nobody else was. But they began to experience the harmony they were pursuing. And then what to do started to unfold for them. When they were in the panic mode, when they were focused on what other people are doing, what other people should be doing, what happened 6 months ago, 6 years ago, what might happen in 3 months from now, they began to lose control physically and mentally, and that causes you to start to reach out and try to control those things even more so, which just starts spinning you and tumbling you out of control. What do you want? And so as we wrap up this whole program, we're going to talk about don't want versus do want. But one of the things I want you to keep in mind as we're talking about stuff tonight is pulling all of this stuff together and applying it to your spiritual walk, which is why Mike asked me to present these 4 fundamentals to you guys to help you connect with the Bible, to help you connect with Jesus, to help you connect with each other in the church and with the church itself. I'm not a preacher, and I don't pretend to be, but these thought processes apply universally to all situations: anger, anxiety, depression, relationship issues, parenting issues. School teachers were asking me how this stuff applies, and as we talked about it, you could just see their gears spinning in their brain as they begin to see how to approach their classrooms differently now. It's universal. They're fundamentals, 4 of them. That's why I call them that. But here, illustratively, is you. You're this scrappy tree, naked, and this is where you live. And so for you, how well you grow, how bushy your branches become, how green your leaves become, is dependent upon the soil and the nutrients and everything that you're tapping into. And right now, most of us are tapping into the world and the worldly way of thinking that, might makes right, do unto others for they do unto you, get all that you can, big trucks, big cars, big money, don't let other people walk on you. And so this is where we're drawing our nutrition from. Now we know at a kind of an academic level, we know that this ain't right. We can't live this way. We got to go to church. We got to get better. We got to get right with the Lord. And so we see we see the church, we see the Bible, we see other people living, these beautiful lives, and they seem so happy, and they're in this wonderful place that, we envision as Christ. And we know the Bible says for us to get in Christ. But that means we have to, give up that worldly stuff. And so a lot of us kind of do this. we snug up next to it. You know, we don't want to give up the worldly stuff. I had a friend years ago who, you know, Facebook was kind of exploding, and they, you know, real excited about that, and they got their Facebook page all set up. But then a friend of theirs from church asked to be Facebook friends, and this was like a 6-month drama after that, because they didn't want their church friend to see what they're doing on their Facebook, which was worldly stuff, you know, going to the lake and Party Cove and woo. But at church, they were different. So they would snug up next to Christ, but they couldn't understand why nothing was really changing. And then some of us will even do this. We bring the world with us as we try to get into Christ, and we still don't understand why we're not growing, why we're not changing, why we can listen to the music on Sunday and feel so good, and then walk out of here and, you know, be back in the world and be back in our sorrow and our misery and wonder why things aren't happening for us. It takes a leap of faith. It takes an understanding that I have to get myself planted in a new way of being. I have to get into the Word. I have to draw nutrients from a new soil. I have to get new water poured on me. And once I begin drawing in these thoughts, these ideas, the information, the data, the suggestions, the advice, the guidance that's in the New Testament, that's in the Bible, and those lessons, as I begin to draw those things up, now imagine how I'm going to grow after that. And that's where the disconnect has always been. We see the New Testament and we tell ourselves, well, I should be doing this, and we read the parables and we're like, okay, well, I shouldn't judge other people, and none of that is true. The parables are, the issues in the parable are not the issues. The issues that are presented in the parables are illustrations of how to think about things. Now, there's one parable I always hear people talk about that, you know, Jesus was approached by a rich man, and he said, you know, how do I get into heaven? And Jesus, standing there, he's not dead yet. So he said, well, how do you get into heaven? You follow all the laws. You do everything, you know, that the law says. He says, I do all of that. He says, well, okay. Sell all your stuff and follow me. And he hung his head and walked off. He couldn't do it. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't be rich? Because Jesus turns around and tells his disciples, it's you know, super hard for the rich to get into heaven. Does he mean that if you're rich, you're not going to get into heaven? He's illustrating something here that this is a perfect illustration. He's asking a man to give up the worldly ways and to follow his ways. And the man couldn't do it. Just like my friend couldn't, you know, merge their worlds, their Facebook world with their church world. They couldn't merge them. They didn't want to give up their worldly ways, but they still wanted all the trappings and hope and peace that come with being in Christ. The issue is not the issue. It's how do you think about things? And so that's what this class is about. Fundamental number one is about freedom. And whenever I'm talking to somebody and they're blowing up, they're depressed, they're angry, they're anxious about something, I'll say, what was fundamental number one? And this is always the response I get. Yeah, I know, I can't control anybody else. It's not punishment. It's the freedom. It's, you know, I don't have the ability to control them, so it's not my responsibility. Yay! I can stop trying. I can stop trying to change the past. I can stop letting the past rule me today. I can stop letting the past control where my future goes. That's the beauty of fundamental number one, is you are free. Right here, right now, you are in total control. And when you begin to get that, it will excite you rather than depress you. I know I can't control them. You're like, hey, I can't control them. Awesome. See ya. You know, that's their issue, not us. What happened to me in the past? The best example I saw of that for me, that illustrated my son, he is fantastic. I learned so much from watching him. He has special needs, and I went to a Special Olympics bowling tournament one time. It's like, wow. 8, 9 of them up there in a lane, and then they all got their ball, and they're running around, they're happy, they're patting each other in the back, and they put their bowling balls down, they look up at the screen, and they're all huddled around the ball return. You're like, oh, John, it's your turn, Ryan, it's your turn. And they're all standing there clapping for each other. And every single one of them did the same thing. They got their ball lined up, did their best imitation of a bowler, and watched the ball waka, 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 into the gutter. But they continue to watch the ball. Because it might come out. You don't know. And then it missed everything, and they're like, ah. And all their buddies are back here, yay! And they run back to the ball return. And the ball comes out, they grab it, and they just go right at it again. The past is gone. What just happened doesn't matter anymore. It's a new chance to hit those doggone pins. And just instantly, they're able to let it go. How long do we hang on to stuff? How long even in, playing softball, a very good softball player, kind of shocked me, but very good. But when they made a mistake, everybody knew about it. They threw their glove, they fell on the ground, rolled around, and the ball's still in play. Get up and get the ball. They're running around third. But they made a mistake, and they spent 5 minutes rolling around on the ground, beating themselves up for making a mistake. Tell me you don't do that. Tell me you didn't walk in the door tonight carrying something that you did or somebody did to you 5 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, earlier today, yesterday, 6 months ago, 6 years ago. You're still carrying that. Fundamental number 1 says you're free of that. Fundamental number 2, shoulds versus wants. This is a highly critical one because this is where we really kind of start disconnecting ourselves from the Bible. Shoulds versus wants. Shoulds, must, have to, need to, gotta, supposed to. These key words that we hear ourselves say that cause us to put ourselves under a law. And then we judge ourselves, we beat ourselves up, we evaluate ourselves, right or wrong, we judge other people. Don't tell me you don't. I was here Sunday, there was a baby crying. I saw about 18 people whispered, that was me. I was like, Lord, help me. And that's just a simple example. Traffic, oh my God. All day long in traffic, you're out there. They should hurry up, they should slow down, they shouldn't try to get in front of me, they should have gotten in back there. It is so much a part of our way of thinking. And it's the exact opposite of what Christ was trying to teach us. You have one commandment. What is it? Some are afraid to speak, and the rest of y'all didn't know. You don't have 10, you don't have 282, you got one. This one commandment I give you. Love others as I have loved you. How hard is that to remember? But you'll go try to remember all the other 27,000, and label them on other people, label them on yourself. No, I shouldn't have said that. Love others as I have loved you. One instruction. How do we get to a place to operate from love? By letting go of judgment, by letting go of the past, by letting go of worries about the future. Love others as I have loved you. Why do you try to get that little speck out of your brother's eye and you have this big old log in yours? He ain't talking about wood, people. He's talking about how you approach the world. Martha, Mary. Martha's in there cleaning the kitchen all mad because Mary's sitting in there listening to Jesus tell stories. And she got so upset about it. Notice she didn't go to Mary. That's how mad she was at Mary. She was going to embarrass Mary. Lord, tell her to get in there and help me. What did Jesus say to her? It's right there. There are very few things in this world that are needed. Should, must, have to, need to, gotta, supposed to. All her thoughts, you can just hear them when you read that. We need to get this place cleaned up. We need to have it presentable. She needs to get in here and help me. He said, Mary has chosen what is better. And that will not be taken from her. It won't be taken from her for two reasons. One, he's not going to tell Mary she should act like Martha, because Martha's acting wrong. Martha is thinking wrong. So he's not going to take this from Mary when she's thinking the way he is instructing people to think. And the second reason he won't take it from her is once you think about what you want, you start to feel good. And then once you get what you want, you feel good. When does that go away? You know, to illustrate what we're going to talk about tonight, when I opened it with a really dumb example about my car in the parking lot, windows down, it's starting to rain, I'm up here, I'm a big bundle of nerves, and y'all told me to go roll up my car window, right? You didn't tell me to go stop the rain. Can't control the rain, thus we illustrate fundamental number one. We can't control certain things. When we understand that, it frees us to get our attention on the things we can control. Now, why did you tell me, and why would I, in this silly example, go roll up my car window? No, really, why would I roll up my car window? I don't want it to get wet. Here's fundamental number 4. There are two ways to look at all circumstances. What you don't want or what you do want. You tell me, roll up my car window so the car seats don't get wet. Here's what I do to myself if I do that. I'm sitting here at neutral, no emotional state. I think, oh my God, my car window's going to, and my seats are going to get wet. I don't want that. Pressure. So I run out there, I roll up the car windows, now my seats will not get wet. Back to neutral. I'm relieving myself of the pressure that I put on myself. Now, if I think about it differently, I'm sitting here at neutral, oh, it's about to rain. I left my car windows down. You know, I've had that thing for 16 years. I like not having a car payment. So if you give me a second, I'm going to run out the roll of my car window because I want to take care of this thing. I start moving in a positive direction. I'm already imagining myself taking care of my vehicle, having another 16 years and no car payment. I'm feeling pretty good as I head out the door. When I get the window rolled up and I have achieved that which I'm after, I feel good. So I go from neutral to good. And I come back in here. When does this go away? It doesn't. I get to feel good because I took care of my car. If it's just a matter of I don't want it to get wet, while it's possible that it gets wet, I feel a lot of pressure when I take care of it and I'm no longer at risk for getting wet, I go back to neutral. And there is so much of our life we live this way. You know, Mike used an example when he was a waiter and he would ask people, you know, all right, what can I help you with? What would you like to order today? Notice his question. What would you like? Notice what they answer. Well, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't want that. I definitely don't want that. Each time you envision what you don't want, you experience actually having it. I said to somebody one day, I was like, hey, I'm making a sandwich. You want one? They went, yeah, but I don't want any mayonnaise. In that brief second, they experienced getting a sandwich with the goop of mayonnaise on it, biting into it, and being grossed out. Do they have a sandwich in their hand? It's not even made. But their experience is having a sandwich with junk in it. You know, I don't know what that. Where is this coming from? Who's creating this negative experience in this moment? We do this all day, every day, you know. I'm guilty of it. I'm leaving the office like, oh crap, I got all this stuff I got to do before 5 o'clock. Shoot, woo, I better hurry up. I got to get it all done. I don't want the judge to be mad at me. I don't want those families calling again, asking where the report is. Run around, I get it all done. Whew, I feel good. No, I don't. I'm having a great day. Suddenly I realize all this stuff I got to do and I don't want to get in trouble for not having it done. All this pressure comes on me. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off, skip lunch, I get it all done. The pressure is gone. And I tell myself this is a good thing. Negative versus positive thinking. You are thinking negatively when you're thinking about what you don't want, when you're seeing what is wrong, thinking about all the problems. When you see stumbling blocks, I like that. I'll be talking with somebody about something. I'll say, well, you know, pretty difficult problem. Why don't we try this? And they're like, yeah, but what comes next? Yeah, but they won't help. Yeah, but they won't try. Yeah, but I've tried that and it didn't work before. Yeah, but I don't know. You know, it's going to cost a lot of money. Yeah, but what if they don't? Do you hear? And it's not negative. Don't think of negative thinking as bad. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that you are bad or that you're always imagining bad situations. But by negative versus positive thinking, it's not happy, happy, joy, joy. Negative versus positive thinking, am I moving towards solutions or am I moving away from solutions? Am I moving towards resolution? Am I moving towards a goal or am I moving away from a goal? Am I moving away from resolution? So if I see stumbling blocks, if I'm feeling stuck, I don't know what to do, this isn't working, that isn't working, and that won't work, and that won't work, I am constantly seeing stumbling blocks. I feel defensive. So what would you like to talk about today? What? Why? They're thinking negatively. They're thinking I'm trying to interrogate them. I mean, you realize you don't have to be here. You're not on parole. Yeah, I know that. What do you want to know? I was just asking what you'd like to talk about today. Well, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Football, actually. Feel suspicious. Being reactive. Who's in charge of what you're doing, what you're saying? Are you reacting to the other person? Well, they said this, so are you reacting to something from your past? Are you reacting to something you're imagining about the future? Well, they're going to be in a bad mood, so I better get ready to punch them. I mean, am I reacting to things as opposed to positive thinking where I'm thinking about what I do want, when I am seeing what is right? When I'm thinking about solutions, seeing solutions to problems, when I'm feeling hopeful, when I'm being proactive. You know what? When I go home tonight, I want a nice, relaxing evening. So when I get in, I'm going to get the dogs fed. I'm going to get some food ready to go. And I'm going to see what's on TV. I am thinking proactively. I'm planning a nice, relaxing evening, as opposed to reactive. Well, I want to relax, but when I get home, those damn dogs are going to be barking at me. I'm being reactive, so I'm thinking negatively. I'm bringing up negative thoughts, bad situations, things I don't want, and it causes me to experience them right here, right now, and feel bad. I am in control of my experiences. So negative thinking versus positive thinking. Negative thinking prevents you from taking action. It is so hard to solve an issue when all you can imagine are negative events that have occurred, negative events that are occurring now. You will be seeing negative events in the future. Yeah, but we'll do this, it'll last 6 months, and we'll be right back where we were. There's a Dyson commercial. I always thought it was kind of interesting. The guy created the first bagless commercial, and everybody, or vacuum cleaner, and everybody copied him after that. But he was talking about when he was working on inventing it, he said he'd tried 1,000 different designs. And if you remember the commercial, he said, what did he learn? 1,000 different ways not to make a vacuum cleaner. That's it. I tried 1,000 different designs. I learned 1,000 different ways not to do it. So he tried again. He's had a goal. I'm going to create a vacuum that doesn't need a bag. People have goals. And they work on them, and lo and behold, they change our entire lives. Now who wants a vacuum cleaner with a bag in it? Oh. But back when he was working on it, they were like, oh, who doesn't want a vacuum cleaner with a bag? I mean, this is stupid. Don't be trying that. I'm like, hey, I want one. He was thinking in a positive direction, looking for a solution. You prevent relationships from flourishing. It is hard to, on two levels. Do you want to be around somebody who's always negative? So you're going to push people away when you're being negative. I had I won't give you the details of the long story, but I had a medical issue occur and caused a lot of damage. And afterwards, somebody was trying to make me feel better, and they looked at me, and this is what they said, something to the effect of, I'm going to quote, I can't remember what I ate yesterday. But they looked at me and said, oh, yeah, at least you didn't lose a leg. Now, I just got 23 stitches, my life is ruined, and they're at least you didn't lose your leg. And we do that to people. When somebody's suffering, we'll say, it could be worse, right? Do you mean well when you say that to somebody? You're trying to help, right? But think about it. And I'm not being smart aleck. Think about it. Here's neutral, happiness is up here. I've got some sort of medical issue, I'm down here. So what's your solution? Make me feel down here for just a moment, so when I'm back up here, it's still not that bad. I'm still depressed, I'm still upset, I'm still hurting, but when I concentrate on something really traumatic, then this isn't so bad. How is that? No, it's not. But we do that. One of the things in the Bible that, again, I can't remember the scripture, but it was the study I was doing asked the question, do your words uplift others? Or do your words tear them down? And so I'm trying to uplift them, but I am intentionally tearing them down a little bit so they don't feel so bad where they're at with their tear downness. And so it takes a lot of effort to understand how to speak to somebody, to take a situation and lift them up. And then you begin to build these relationships because now people want to be around you. You're connecting with them. Prevent you from advancing your career. I mean, if you're constantly seeing everything wrong with your job, everything wrong with your salary, everything wrong with your boss, everything wrong with the company, how are you going to advance? What do you want? What do you want in your career? Well, I don't want to be here in the next 20 years. Well, what do you want? Well, I don't want to be stuck making this amount of money. Well, what do you want? I don't want to work for this guy anymore, I'll tell you that. What do you want? Do you want a better job? Do you want a better salary? Do you want to be working indoors instead of outdoors? Do you want to work with people who are much friendlier than the people you work with? What do you want? Once you start to articulate that for yourself, then you begin to see that destination down the road. This is fundamental number 3. What if? What if all these horrible things happen? Step 4 of the worksheet. What is it you would like? How would you like things to be? Envision that. Now that you've got that vision in mind, you can see how to get from here to there. Simple example. If I asked you, all right, I've got this really important meeting. I've got to be there in half an hour. How do I get there? Anybody tell me? How do I get there? How do I get to this meeting?
Where are you going?
That's, where are you going? What's in Dallas?
You're not going to make it.
Not going to make it. Once I give you the destination, then you can plot out the route. You could tell me if it's even an achievable goal. You can tell me if I'm going to go down I-35 or I-70 or if I need to catch a plane. But if you don't know where I'm going, you can't tell me how to get from here to there. So if you don't know where you're going in your career, you don't know whether to stick it out at this company or to transfer to another company or to go back to school and get some education. You don't know what to do. All you're doing is reacting to the negative events going on around you. So you can't advance in your career. You can't advance in your relationship. You prevent yourself from having a more meaningful, deeper relationship with God. What is our job as Christians? I don't know. Be more Christ-like, right? Love others as I loved you. Paul says, transform yourself through the renewing of your mind. So our goal is to become more Christ-like. So now that I begin to think, this is what I want, well, how do I get there? Now the answers start to come to me, whether I'm going to listen to podcasts or watch religious movies or actually read the book. It's been sitting there on my shelf for a while. I haven't really cracked it open yet. Am I going to read the book? Am I going to listen to what Mike has to say on Sunday? Am I going to take some of that information and begin to apply it to myself? How do I apply it to myself? Once I start thinking in a more positive fashion, I can begin the transformation process. It's not that you should love others. It doesn't say that anywhere. Love others as I have loved you. Throughout. Romans 12:2, transform yourself. How? Through the renewing of your mind. That's what this class is all about, is trying to help you see the tools of how to get control of your thinking so that you can become unstuck, so that you can become empowered, and for the first time in your lives, perhaps, actually be in control of what's going on. And so transform yourself by the renewing of your mind. Why? I don't know. Why are you doing it? Why are you attempting to transform? Read the book. It tells you. Transform yourself by the renewing of the mind so that you may begin to discern. What does discern mean?
Tell.
Figure out, understand, tell. so you may begin to understand and figure out what? The perfect will of God. God created you. He created you exactly as you are. So in your way that you are at this very moment, you are perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. The only person who's saying there's something wrong with you is you. You sit in judgment of yourself, and you have all the evidence lined up here over the last 30, 40 years, your experiences in the Navy, to prove of how sorry an individual you are. And so you judge yourself differently than God judges you. You are choosing to think negatively when he's like, hey, I made you exactly like you are. I didn't make any mistakes. You are the righteousness of God. And I understand these thoughts, these concepts are foreign, because when I started to when they started to leap off the page at me, I felt kind of embarrassed to even say them. And I went to my pastor after a few weeks and said, this Bible, it's the righteousness of God. I'm the co-heir to the throne with Jesus. That don't sound right. Is that right? He's like, oh yeah. Like, what? Well, it also says there's no more law, that I'm not under the law anymore, that I can do whatever I want. He's like, yeah, it's true. Like, I've been in your church. It wasn't this one. I was in your church for 8 years, and I have not heard you say that one time. Yeah, but if I tell people that, then they're going to go out and start doing stuff, and they're going to be playing pool. It rhymes with school, and then they're going to drop out of school, and then we're going to have all this kind of chaos going on. So let's just keep that between you and me. What? You are the righteousness of God. You are perfect. You are the co-heir to the throne. You have the power. All that is necessary for you to do to access that power, to receive that grace, is to believe and have faith. So transform your attitude. Transform by the renewing of your mind so that you may discern the perfect will of God, so you may discern and approve the perfect will of God. You have choice. You have control. One, right now, you don't know what his plan is for you. And a lot of us are like, well, what you want to see the end result. You're like, where's this road going? I don't know if I want to do it. I think he's telling me to do this, but if I do that, then I got to give up all this stuff. Oh, I don't know. I don't know where that goes. I don't know where it leads. And I don't want to be some Bible freak standing out on a corner. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's not me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back to the lake this week, and I'm going to hang out with my buddies. You want to know the end result. He's like, no, I have a will for you. So do you want to know his will for you? And so as you begin to ponder these questions, the challenge, the goal is to better understand who you are as God made you, so that you may begin to understand his will. So now his will starts to become your will. And you set aside the world's will and begin to... It's a transformational process. You begin to transform. You begin to see his plan. You begin to see his will. You begin to hear his voice, and you begin to have faith and take a step and see what happens next, knowing I am with you the whole way. Okay, well, you better be, because this is kind of scary. He wants to have that walk with you. If he told you the whole plan, you would either quit and never do it, or you would just run to the end. And he's like, hey, what about me? He wants a relationship with you. He wants to be there in those hard times to support you through those things so that you can grow together. Another thing that gets in our way, how we think, when I say, go home and pray about that, what do you picture? You know, something goofy? I ain't gonna do that. That's stupid. You know. So, do you see yourself, you know, Lord, I come to you tonight. Is that what you're envisioning when you say, pray, my son, pray about that? Do you see some kind of formal thing that's weird? It's a conversation. You pray while you're driving. Hey, you know, going to work today, don't know what I'm going to do. Can you be there with me? You know, I'd like that. It's a conversation with them. It's not something goofy. Have a conversation with them like you would your wife or your friend. Have that conversation. Talk. And as you begin to study the Word and learn His will for you, as you begin that dialogue, it starts to transform you. Sin is another word that gets in our way. You know, you're a sinner. That word sin. I had a friend of mine once sent me this really beautiful text message thing about take your sins to the Lord and ask for forgiveness and all will be good. And I texted back something like, yeah, I do that every minute of every day. And as soon as I sent it, I knew what was coming next. I was like, ah, crap. So I, real quick, Googled sin somewhere. And before I could even get it sent back to them, they're blowing up my phone. Oh my God, Lance, what's going on? What's going on in your life that you're sinning so much that you have to be praying to the Lord all day, every day, seeking forgiveness? I'm like, because what does that word conjure up when you hear it? Like, sin. In a religious context, sin is the act of transgression against divine law. Sin can also be viewed as any thought or action that endangers the ideal relationship between an individual and God. How you think pulls you away from God or pushes you closer to God. So if how you're thinking is pulling you away, and it can be sinful, lustful thoughts, you know, it could be judgmental thoughts, it could be doubt, it could be worry. Doesn't the Bible tell you, don't worry? And we just spend an hour and a half on worry last week, and how all the Bible and all the preachers will tell you, don't worry, but they never tell you how not to worry. Had a worksheet. So I am moving myself away from Jesus when I worry. So by definition, that's sin. Just the word makes you feel bad, makes you feel ugly. Practice deciding what you want with simple matters. The movie, was it Runaway Bride? Anybody admit to seeing that? There's a part of it that I don't know y'all picked up on, but at some point towards the end, Richard Gere asks her, what kind of eggs do you like? And she's like, what? And he says, when you were with John, you liked Sunnyside. When you were with Bob, you liked Over Easy. When you were so-and-so, you liked Poached. What kind of eggs do you like? And she got all mad at him and walked out. And at the end of the movie, after everything blows up and he's back in New York, she knocks at the door and he's like, oh, what are you doing here? She's like, I like my eggs. Oh, Denver omelet, I don't know. Doesn't like them at all? And that's part of this process that I'm talking about. What do you want? And you would be surprised, and I'm saying you're being surprised because you're probably sitting there right now thinking, but I am constantly surprised by the number of people who cannot answer that question. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. So you're in this relationship with this person. What would you like? Well, I don't want him to hit me anymore. Great. That's a start. What would you like? Well, I don't want to be here 5 years from now. Good. Where would you like to be? They can't do it. I had another friend of mine who came after one of these classes and said, all my life, I've never made a single decision based on what I want. Everything has been what I don't want. So transform your attitude As you begin this process, fundamental number 1, 2, 3, 4, don't want, do want, start looking inside yourself. What are your values? What are your principles? What's important to you? And it can be a springboard from what I don't want. Like, well, I don't like mayonnaise. All right, we got that. So if I don't like mayonnaise, then I must like ketchup. Let me try ketchup. Yeah, I like ketchup. It can be a springboard. Well, I don't like, so what would I like? Read scriptures daily. The more these instructions, the more you have these words in your mind, when moments arise, that's when these words can rise up inside of you and have meaning or impact or power. The fundamentals, let's begin building your new identity. We've been talking about, one great thing, Mike asked at the beginning that how many of you have thought, man, my friend should be here. Oh my God, my wife really needs to hear this stuff. And a lot of you raise your hand. Well, and that's not a bad thing. But what I want you to do is I want you to own that. I want you to listen to other people. I want you to see what's happening in their life as they violate these 4 principles. You know why? This is exactly what you're doing. They just said should. Look how mad they got. That is so funny. They're all pissed off over there. There's should. All right, we need to get out of here. Dang it. You will hear this stuff in other people before you begin hearing it in yourself. I told you, lady walked in right out of the class, and every word out of her mouth was should. I'm like, do you remember the class at all? Oh, wow. And it's just not natural. You don't see these filters loaded into your brain. You have to really pay attention and listen for them. And you're going to hear them in other people, but I want you to use that as an opportunity to begin to hear them in yourself. And each time you hear them, and I say practice this stuff on small things because that's easy. It's not important. The more you practice it on the small things, the better you become at the exercise. The better you become at the exercise. It's the whole wax on, wax off concept. Karate Kid, anybody with me? He had him waxing the cars, and he got all mad because he's using him to wax all his cars, and he punched at him and he blocked it. By waxing the cars, he had been practicing a defense move. And so by practicing these on the little things that really don't matter, we should go to bed right now. Ah, there it is, should. I just said should. Let me back that up. I would like to go to bed. I would like to wake up refreshed in the morning and go to bed, have a good chuckle, laugh about it. But each time you walk yourself through it, you start to change the filter. The goal is one day, you're like, what time is it? I'd like to go to bed. I didn't say should. Some people, like Mike, it comes real slow. Other people, it comes more quickly. Does it matter? A professor once had a son, and he was telling me that when his son was 45, he told him, Dad, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go to college. That was like my first shock, is here's a professor whose son didn't go to college. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, I'm gonna go to college. And he told me that a couple weeks later, his son called him back and said, that's stupid. Why was I even thinking that? I ain't going to college. I'll be 50 years old before I graduate. God, what was I thinking? He said a couple weeks after that, he was over at his son's house, and he said, well, I went down, registered for college today. You just told me you weren't going to do that that was a stupid idea. He goes, yeah, I know. I said I'd be 50 before I graduated. And I realized I'll be 50 when I don't graduate. So it came to me, what do I want? Do I want to have a degree? When you begin thinking like this, your life begins to transform. When you begin to apply these principles to your walk with Jesus, your spirit begins to transform. You begin to draw these nutrients up from Christ. It starts to fill you up. You begin to think differently. You begin to understand what the book is trying to tell you, and that it is a book to make your life better. I came so that you may have life in abundance. How many of you feel like you're having life in abundance right now? How many of you look at the Bible as something that tells you what all you're doing wrong, what all you could be doing wrong, what all you shouldn't be doing? How many of you see the Bible as more than a paperweight? It's freedom. There's such freedom in those words, such power in those words. We sing about it. Oh, power in the word. And we walk out of here and curse out the guy who pulled out in front of us. Be miserable for the rest of the ride home. Kids are crying in the back. I had a random brainstorm, and this is what came out of my brainstorm. I nailed this out in about 30 minutes. I couldn't let it go, so this is what I want you to be able to do with this stuff. And so we have a situation where I'm sitting there practicing guitar with somebody, and his phone goes bleep, bleep, and he looks down, it's a text message from his mother, and he rolls his eyes, shuts the phone back down. I get a text, so I know the family. Is my son ignoring me, or does he have my phone number blocked? Now, first of all, what did you just hear that happen? Did you hear my voice? It's hard to read this without putting that tone of voice in there. So I showed him the message. He's like, ugh. And this breaks down this one simple text message through the 4 fundamentals, where you can see that in this simple exchange, the violations of all 4 of these fundamentals, where they're giving each other control, where they're using the past to predict the future, where they're thinking what the other person should be doing or shouldn't be doing. My son should answer my phone calls. He shouldn't ignore me. He should answer whenever I pick up the phone and call. He should reply to my text messages. And my mom should back off, and she shouldn't be such a pain in my butt. She shouldn't be in my business all the time. Shouldn't be telling me what to do. And then the worry, what if my son, he didn't answer the phone? What if he's dead? Oh my God, he could be laying down there right now. The dog's eating his eyeballs out. What? The negative thinking that is occurring in both of these people's brains. What does she want? Suspend all that other stuff for a moment. This is a mother with a son, and just knowing that, what does the mother want? She wants her son to be happy. She wants her son to have a good life. Isn't that what all mothers want for their children? I just want my children to be happy. She loves her son. She wants him to be happy and to have a joyous life. What does he want? He wants his mom to be proud of him. What do all sons want of their parents? They want their parents to be there for them and to be proud of them. But when you start reading through this and look at what all the drama that went on surrounding this one simple text message, are they either of them getting anything near what they want. And when you look at this and what I've written out here, you begin to see where each of them is preventing themselves from getting what they want. Accepting your new identity. This is where, okay, I'm getting this, the 4 fundamentals, think differently, okay, the adulterous woman, it wasn't about adultery, it was about not judging yourself, it's about doing better, forgetting the past, do better, forgetting the past, do better. It's the bowling, okay, I missed the pins, next. Missed the pins, next. I miss the pins almost every day in my life. I miss the mark all the time. What am I going to do next? Accepting your new identity. This is where faith comes in. Faith without deeds is no faith at all. So we think, I got to go out and feed the homeless, and that shows my faith. Yes. No. Not unless God's message to you is to go feed the homeless, but okay, I got to read my Bible 7 times a week, I got to do these certain prayers, I got to, should, must, have to, need to, gotta. You're making laws that you got to follow. With your friends, with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, with your children, with your parents, how does it feel when they do something nice for you out of obligation? All right, I have vacuumed the floor. There. Or, yes, I love you. You happy? Does this make you feel good? When they do what they're supposed to do? What do you want? You want them to want to do these things for you. You want the kids to say, look, Mom, I'm vacuuming the floor because I love you so much. Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, that is so special. Kodak moment. Honey, you know what? I can't contain it. I just love you. That is so meaningful because it's coming from that place within themselves that is desirous, where they want. So if you do something for the church out of obligation, or you do it because you think this is what you're supposed to do, you think he appreciates that? You don't have to tithe. You don't have to do anything, and you're in heaven. Sit around here being miserable, creating your own little hell by living in a worldly way, and you'll still be in heaven. You don't have to. Paul said everything is permissible. Not everything is constructive. Everything is permissible. Not everything is uplifting. So what do you want tonight? What do you want for the next couple of weeks? What do you want your life to be like? Do you want to begin to see those blessings pouring out on you in health and in relationships and in life and in money? Do you want to experience God's grace that they sing about in the music? If you want that, then you begin to try and discern His will, and when you start to think you are getting His will for you, you do it. Now, your faith is having a deed. You're doing what it seems like He's calling you to do, and you're doing it relying on Him. Now, your faith is working for you. But there cannot be anywhere buried inside of there any must, should, have to. I'm tithing because I'm supposed to. Well, don't tithe. I don't want it. Here, I've got you a Valentine's Day card. That! February 14th, every year. This sucks. Isn't that how you give money to the church? Don't lie to me. Man, I'll put in the record. Stupid song today. I shouldn't put 20 in there. 5. Music was horrible. Isn't that how? I knew a couple who one time said they actually wrote their check based on what they thought they got out of the service that day. It was a business transaction. Well, I felt pretty uplifted today. What do you think? Let's make it for 25. Now, do you want to experience God's grace? Do you want to know His will? What are your deeds evidencing of your faith? Now, do you give money to the church to show God that I am relying on you? You said in the Bible, test me on this. Give to the church of your first fruits and see if I don't pour out the storehouses of heaven onto you. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. So, accepting your new identity means stepping out there. It means opening your Facebook up to other people in the church so that they can see what you're doing on the weekend. Have faith in your new identity, stepping out there. God supplies the power, but you're in control, so you must flip the switch. This is one of the more powerful set of things that I came across, the understanding that the sermon series that Mike's going over right now is Ephesians, where it says God can do such miraculous things, more than you can even imagine. God can do such miracles, such crazy, impossible things that you can't even imagine what He can do. We're like, yeah, that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? But it goes on. How does He do these things? Did you read that part? Were you awake when Mike mentioned it? He does these things through you. Oh, you mean I'm involved? Ooh, I didn't know that. Yeah, you have the power. It's up to you to flip the switch. If I went home tonight and my electricity, my lights are off in my house and I'm standing there in the dark, I've paid my bill, and I call Westar and say, it's dark here. What are they going to tell me to do? Yeah. Flip the switch, dummy. We're sending power to you. Flip the switch. The Bible keeps telling you different ways, I am giving you power. I can do crazy, miraculous things that you can't even imagine. Flip the switch. Begin to transform your mind. Begin to try to discern His will for you. Begin to take those steps. Accept His good and perfect will for you. Step forward in faith that He's got you, and you will begin to do those miraculous things. So, unless Mike has anything he wants to add.
Just want to make sure everybody remembers to put that Connect card in the green bucket right at this door and in this door as well. And we will have something that we will have as a next step coming up soon. We will communicate with you as soon as we know. But can we give it up big time for Dr. Parker? Thank you. And I'll let you close us with prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you so much for this opportunity to connect with other people and to share ideas. And dear Lord, I just simply pray that you have reached out and began touching people's hearts, opening their minds, opening their eyes, peeling back the scales, so that they can begin to see their world anew and to let go of the past and to stop worrying about the future. And Lord, strengthen them so that they recognize that they have such an incredible amount of power in them, that if they would just simply slow down and tap into it, the mighty change they could unleash for themselves and their family. Dear Lord, I pray that you be with everybody tonight, keep them warm and safe, and continue to work within them to help them transform. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.